Welcome back to Bunny Trails, everyone. I'm Shauna Harrison.
And I'm Dan Pugh. This week is a retro episode. Never Look a Gift Horse in the Mouth is episode 136 and first aired on December 15th, 2021. I'm currently thinking about what I was doing in 2021, and I would like to stop thinking about it now. I feel like 2020 to 2022 were hectic years for all of us.
They certainly were. But before we jump into our episode, we want to give a special thanks to Mary Halsig Lopez, Pat Rowe, and all of our patrons. We could not make this show without you. And for the rest of you, it's free to join the community. We're on Patreon. That's patreon.com/bunnytrailspod.
And JGP, thank you for your continued support.
Welcome to Bunny Trails, a whimsical adventure of idioms and other turns of phrase. I'm Shauna Harrison.
And I'm Dan Pugh. Each week, we take an idiom or other turn of phrase and try to tell the story from its entry into the English language to how it's used today. This week is Don't Look a Gift Horse in the Mouth. Alternatively, Never Look a Gift Horse in the Mouth. Let's look at the Oxford English Dictionary, which says looking a gift horse in the mouth means to, quote, criticize and find fault with a gift, end quote. And the OED notes this phrase was given horse instead of gift horse in the earliest uses. So this is an old one, it being included in a dictionary of English proverbs as far back as 1546.
Wow.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
That's farther back than I would have guessed for this one.
I'm going to quote a copy that was provided through the Text Creation Partnership, and this is of John Haywood's, a dialogue containing the number and effect of all the proverbs in the English tongue, compact in a manner concerning two manner of marriages made and set forth by John Haywood.
Very good. I feel like we might have referenced this work before.
We definitely have. Yeah. We definitely have. Okay, here we go. Quote, where gifts be given freely, east, west, north, or south, no man ought to look a given horse in the mouth, end quote. And
That's very catchy.
It is, and most of the proverbs that are written in there are like that in some sort of a prose, oftentimes a rhyming prose.
I didn't realize that. The phrase we use is actually the rejoinder of that longer.
I don't think it is.
Piece of a whole.
It's not.
Okay.
So this is the thing about what Hayward has done. So he uses the proverb, but then he surrounds it with other things to put it into like almost a poetic type verse. So
okay.
Yeah. So no, the phrase is still no man ought to look or don't look a gift horse in the mouth, or
right.
Don't look a given horse in the mouth, or never look a given horse in the mouth. So there are a lot of variants. There's not just one really that comes out of it. It definitely now has solidified into don't or never look a gift horse in the mouth, but we definitely see it used in a variety of ways. So we will continue on. If Haywood included it in his work as an existing English proverb, then where did he get it from in the 1550s, right? Or 1546? And for this, I turned to Gary Martin of the phrases.org.uk website, who says, quote, it is probable that Haywood obtained the phrase from a Latin text of St. Jerome, the letter to the Ephesians, circa AD 400, which contains the text, Noli equa dentis inspiri donati. Never inspect the teeth of a given horse. Where St. Jerome got it from, we aren't likely to ever know. End quote. I know. My Latin is flawless. You can be envious if you wish, but remember, my utter lack of any innate talent with speaking other languages is a gift, and we ought not look it in the mouth.
Well done.
Thanks. Another note of early Latin origins comes from the Complete Collection of English Proverbs by John Ray, and this was from 1768. On page 113, after the entry, Look not a gift horse in the mouth, he notes, quote, it seems this was a Latin proverb in Hiram's time. Erasmus quotes it out of his preface to his commentaries on the epistle to the Ephesians, end quote. We definitely have seen a couple of examples where it may have come up, a phrase like that in Latin. talking about not inspecting the teeth of a given horse, and uses a very similar Latin phrase to what St. Jerome was using here.
It almost reminds me of like, don't count your cards while you're, or whatever it is. Count your chips. Don't count your chips while you're still at the table, you know?
Oh,
Like,
I see. I
don't
thought you were
check-
like, don't count your cars. I'm like, chickens before they're hatched? What are you getting
I
at?
meant chips.
What does cars have to do with it? We're talking about like 300 something AD. What are you talking about? Or CE, I guess.
Oh, goodness. No, like, you know, don't count your money or your chips or whatever before you leave while you're
Right,
still at
yeah.
the table, you know? Yeah.
I could see
Or
that, but I
something.
think that these are for different reasons.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
All right, we've got this. We've got an idea. We know that somewhere in the, it was actually, I think it was 387, 388 CE is when St. Jerome would have wrote this letter. So that's probably the earliest example of it that we've seen, and that is in Latin. And sometime between there and 1500 or 1546, we know that it got translated into English, probably through translations of those works. So we have a really good idea that the phrase has been in use for much longer than we could possibly track down. But why, though?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest question, right? But why?
But why?
But why, though? From BritishMuseum.org regarding an exhibit, Horses and Human History, which opened in 2012, quote, horses were first domesticated in around 3500 BCE, probably on the steppes of the southern Russia and Kazakhstan, and introduced to the ancient Near East in about 2300 BCE. Before this time, people used donkeys as draw animals and beasts of burden. The adoption of the horse was one of the single most important discoveries for early human societies. Horses and other animals were used to pull wheeled vehicles, chariots, carts, and wagons, and horses were increasingly used for riding in the Near East from at least 2000 BCE onwards. End quote. So humans and horses have been together for a long time. The buying, selling, or trading of horses has long been a part of humanity's history. It would be important to know what you're getting with a horse, right? So we can definitely understand that. And one common origin reason for the proverb is that you can tell how old a horse is by its teeth. And in that inspection, you're making sure the horse is of the age you're expecting. But if the horse is a gift, it might be considered rude to inspect it to assess the value, as the implication could be you are wishing for a higher value gift. Of course, I wanted to see if this part was even true before assuming it to be a valid origin reason. And for that, I turned to the University of Missouri Extension Office out of Missouri, United States. This is in an article written by Wayne Locke and Melvin Bradley of the Department of Animal Sciences. Quote, the art of determining the age of horses by inspection of the teeth is an old one. Okay, I have to step out of the bit for a second. The art of determining, this is not a science. This is just an art. This is like, hey, it's okay. Well, you know what? All right, I'm gonna allow it. Department of Animal Sciences. Okay.
Actually, arts and sciences were the words they used to say art in place of the term science. Like it was called an art, was like a field of study.
This is a
art.
Current article on the University of Missouri's website. I don't think that was how they were using the term.
No, probably not.
Okay, let's jump back to it. Quote, the art of determining the age of horses by inspection of the teeth is an old one. It can be developed to a considerable degree of accuracy in determining the age of young horses. The probability of error increases as the age advances and becomes a guess after the horse reaches 10 to 14 years of age. Stabled animals tend to appear younger than they are, whereas those grazing sandy areas, such as range horses, appear relatively old because of the wear on the teeth. Horses, like people, vary considerably in vigor and longevity. In general, they have passed their physical peak when they reach 9 to 10 years of age. At this age, the chance of an unsoundness being present has increased. End quote. So yes, you can tell the age of a horse by looking into its mouth.
Yeah.
And that makes it a reasonable origin reason. Well, that makes it a reasonable origin reason. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. To go along with the knowledge that the phrase has been used since at least the late 300s CE.
Okay.
So, all right. Now, of course, as Bradley and Locke noted, it is a bit of an art, apparently. So I would assume that not everybody knows how to do it. Although back in the day when horses were a far more common thing to be given or thing to be traded and sold, then I'm sure there were far more people that knew how to do it back then than know how to do it now. Anyway,
Yeah.
so even if we have a decent handle on the origins and the reasoning behind a phrase, it's still important to see how the phrase has been used over the years. And so I will note that I only found one example of given horse used in the newspapers of the United States, and that was in an 1889 syndicated piece that ran in several papers, including the Ottawa Free Trader, the Wichita Eagle, and the St. Louis Republic. But in this article, they were all simply quoting from John Haywood's work, so it isn't an original usage, and I'm not going to include it here. But there are several examples of given horse mixed in with gift horse in the British newspaper archives. So I will present some of the examples. I'm going to do this in chronological order, regardless of the word used or the country of origin. So let's start with 1797 in the Critical Review, or Annals of Literature, extended and improved by a Society of Gentlemen, a new arrangement, volume the 21st, edited by Tobias Smollett.
Such a title.
That's not even that long for the time. Quote, he was the first who said that if the sky fell, we should catch larks, that sheep belong to those who have a right to the wool, that you must not spur a willing steed, that you must not look a gift horse in the mouth, that a hare in soup and a fifth wheel to a coach were two useless things. End quote. Here's an example from the news out of London. And this is the 28th of September, 1818. Quote, the management really seem to fancy that we must take what we can get from them and be thankful, and that poor devils like us should only be allowed, like Sancho Panza, to bid God bless the giver and not look the gift horse in the mouth. So that's an interesting one because they are here talking about the management telling workers to take what they're given and not look the gift horse of a job in the mouth. And
like, look,
that's 1818. So it seems relatively poignant still today.
oh my goodness.
Interesting.
It's like, just be happy you have a job. That is so not how
That's not really looking a gift horse in the mouth here.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably a negative use of that. Anyway, here's another one out of the Yorkshire Gazette, and this is out of England. And this is 7 April 1838. Quote, poor Mr. Lambton got into a grievous passion at Colonel Sibthorpe's, calling the Canada mission a government job, and was pleased to tell the House that his noble relative was making a great self-sacrifice in undertaking the office. To our mind, this does but add to the suspiciousness with which the whole affair ought to be regarded. This great self-sacrifice and the no salary will be ever thrust forward as a shield to inconvenient inquiry. It would be unhandsome towards one who had sacrificed himself so greatly and who received no salary to scrutinize the economy of his establishment very keenly. You ought not look a given horse in the mouth will be the principle that we shall probably be told to employ in the case of the gratuitous Governor General. End quote. So this is one of someone who had a lot of money and took on a role that did not have pay. So they were using this as an excuse to tell people they should accept it because you shouldn't look to gift horse in the mouth, which
people are just using this as like an excuse or something. I don't know.
Well, this is something we are absolutely seeing is that don't look a gift horse in the mouth has some great positive connotations, but it also has some really negative ones, and it's used in an abusive and toxic way sometimes.
Yeah.
Not that the phrase is toxic itself, but that it's employed in such.
Right.
And it reminds me, sometimes we see presidents of the United States who will forego their salary, which for most of the people who get to that office, the $400,000 a year salary is not that much, frankly. In this case, they forgo that salary, but then they use that as if I should be blameless. I'm doing this. I'm volunteering my time. I'm not making any money off of this, so you should not criticize me or whatever. Of course, it's never been effective for the American people, but it is usually effective for their base. And we've seen seen, we've seen people do that in the past, or folks who then would say, I'm only making a paltry amount and I can make way more.
Right.
President Trump would be a good example. And I'm not trying to play politics, but it is known that Donald Trump made a lot of money before he became president. And
Yeah.
the amount of money he would make as president was in that moment not probably worth being president.
Yeah.
Now, the question would be, is he able to then take that power and turn that into more money later after being president? And I think that for every president, except for potentially Jimmy Carter, that answer is yes. Everyone has gone on to make more money after being president than they did while they were president.
Right. They use that as, yeah.
Right. And I think that Jimmy Carter only didn't do that because it was his desire to not do that. And he is, for those of you who don't know, Jimmy Carter had dedicated his life after the presidency to volunteer causes and has been working with Habitat for Humanity and other nonprofits for ages, and is widely regarded as the best post-president to have ever lived because he has honestly dedicated himself to service above self in his post-presidency, regardless of how you may have felt about the things he did or didn't do as president.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing, like how much work he's done after his presidency for people.
Absolutely. But this is an example of that, I think, where we see someone taking office and saying, I'm not taking any money, so don't criticize. You shouldn't look a given horse in the mouth in this case. Another one from the Dundee Evening Telegraph out of Angus, Scotland, is one of the last, in terms of dates I saw, that use examples of given horse. This is 27 September 1907. Quote, a week or two ago, I was speaking about our modern habit of appraising everything at its monetary value. We do exactly the same thing with wedding presents. No man ought to look a given horse in the mouth, says an old writer. Our modern way is to turn it over in search of the hallmark, and if we find it, our hearts swell with a grateful friendliness. End quote. This is, again, 1907, and almost every one of these could have been written today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure in the English-speaking world, I will put it that way, because I don't know about other communities, although I would imagine many of them probably still have the same issues as well. But the English-speaking world does not seem to have learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
Since the 1800s and 1900s here. Because we're in that same situation where, we're trying to assess value and we're trying to determine, this type of what's the worth of this, and am I getting something that's appropriate?
Right.
But I would say the proverb wouldn't exist if that hadn't always been a human nature. I mean, this is just me now saying this, but I have to assume that if this became a proverb at all, it's because since it became a proverb, this has been our nature to want to put some sort of value to that and to see what sort of value is being assessed to a gift that we are given, whether it be a horse or anything else.
I think that's interesting. I have a friend that their tradition is with gift giving at the holidays or what have you, whether they're trading gifts or for a birthday or whatever that might be. Even if they have a party, nobody opens gifts around with each other. They don't open the presents together. So they might bring them, deliver them, they pass them around and trade whatever, but they take home their unwrapped gifts and then unwrap them at home with just their core family or by themselves.
Interesting.
And so it's, you're appreciating they gave you a gift, but there's no, nobody's comparing gifts in the moment of who got what and everything else. Is kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah, I can see that. I like that.
Yeah.
Here's one I thought was very interesting where it kind of twisted the phrase a little bit. This is out of the Daybook, Chicago, Illinois. This is 1 June 1912. Quote, the Street Railway Company says it saves Chicago $200,000 a year by rushing victims of streetcar accidents to hospitals in its own ambulances. Perhaps, but looking that particular gift horse in the mouth, the fact remains that the company's reason for doing so is to hide the details of the accident. End quote.
That was kind of my thought. I'm like, okay, wait. So we saved this much money because of all of the number of victims of streetcar accidents.
Well, in
I've
this case, it means that Chicago, as a municipal government, didn't have to pay the cost of sending an ambulance or a wagon or whatever in 1912, whatever they had, and then taking them to the hospital. The street railway company would handle that if there was an accident. Maybe that was in good faith, and they were doing that because they felt like it was their duty. But
yeah.
also, as the commenter points out, when you do that, you are now taking people away from the accident. So by the time anyone can get around to investigate, you have already removed a lot of the evidence.
Yeah. I know for the trains here, every time they're stopped is some ridiculous amount of money spent for, every minute that they're not running or whatever that may be. And
Right.
yeah, so I could see probably back then too, it's like, oh, we don't want to stop for too long, so let's just get them and go and get going again.
Well, and I didn't bother. It didn't occur to me to look up what $200,000 in 1912 was, but you listeners at home can do that math if you'd like. All right, this next one is out of the Coolidge Examiner, 15 August 1930. Quote, among the best known old sayings are those dealing with sour grapes, looking the gift horses in the mouth, the prophet honored elsewhere than at home, haste and waste, honesty and policy. One might say, indeed, that there are no such things as new proverbs, since, like wine, they are in need of age to make them worthwhile. The very definition of a proverb shows that age is necessary to produce the lasting flavor. End quote. So this one here is talking about it as it's an old phrase. They recognized it was old in 1930, and they just mixed it in with several others, and talking about how they need to be old, of course, to make the proverb mean much of anything. And I would definitely say that you can have new sayings that mean a lot to different groups, but it definitely it takes age, I think, to some extent to be able to ensure a lasting success with
Yeah.
a saying or phrase. All right, one more here that I want to give as we're starting to move into modern times. And this is from 24 September 1950. This is out of the Evening Star, Washington, D.C. Quote, Nellie Husey is the sort of woman who looks a gift horse in the mouth and decides what to do with it. She told me herself, it was the ugliest house I had ever seen. I splashed it with color to help me forget the uncompromising cut of the place. End quote. I have
It's very descriptive.
It is. I have met a few people like Nellie Husley, but I have my own saying, something that I've learned over years of trying to tone down my own abrasive honesty. Candor is like dessert. A little is great, but too much will put folks in a sour mood.
Very good. I like it.
Okay, next up we will look at how not looking a gift horse in the mouth is used today. But first, we want to thank those who make this show possible, including Emily, our newest patron.
This episode is sponsored by our amazing patrons. And speaking of our Patreon, we'd love your support. Tiers start at $3 a month, which get you our polls and community-only discussions, early access to the podcasts, and the behind-the-scenes video for each episode so you can watch along as we make the show. At $10, you'll also get original digital artwork from Shauna, that's me, once a month featuring exclusive art about an idiom or other turn of phrase. At $15, you'll also get personal on-air recognition like Pat Rowe and Mary Halsig Lopez do every episode, because they are awesome. We also have higher tiers available. Whatever your budget, you can help create bunny trails week after week to continue this educational art form. We are Bunny Trails Pod on Patreon. That's patreon.com/bunnytrailspod.
When I was a kid, I used to love watching reruns of The Monkees, which was a TV show about a British boy band. And it was goofy, it was musical, so of course I loved it. There was an episode called Don't Look a Gift Horse in the Mouth, which originally aired 31 October 1966. Here's a synopsis of that episode from imdb.com. Quote, there are no pets allowed in the monkey's apartment. This leads to comic complications when Davy watches a horse for a kid. The monkeys get a taste of farm living when they try to return the horse. End quote. I watched the opening scene again when I was writing this episode, and I just laughed and laughed. I don't know why. I mean, it's so silly and dumb. I haven't watched TV since the late 90s, and I don't particularly like sitcoms anyway, but I could rewatch an episode of The Monkees or MASH, for that matter, any day of the week.
I liked the Monkees. I liked both those, the Mash and the Monkees. But I've already got like songs stuck in my head from the Monkees.
Yeah. Amur has a song called Looking a Gift Horse in the Mouth off the 2006 album The Complete Guide to Needlework. Amur is the name of that group, Emmure. The lyrics are simple. It's all about love lost due to the singer's own actions. Quote, "She called me captain. I dragged her into the deepest seas. What am I supposed to do now with these pictures and these memories, now that I've thrown you away? This is the last song I wrote for you. Where is my closure? You can feel me clinging to my sheets, waiting for this new perspective that these hands are better off empty. Now that I've thrown you away, I'm still waiting. And we've parted ways, and I hope that you're happy, because you are the memory that just won't seem to fade." End quote.
Aw, that's so sweet and sad.
It is, and yeah, I mean, the lyrics are absolutely beautiful. Now, this is a deathcore song, so it is mostly in that screamy voice, and this is not my style. But I can totally feel the singer's intent through the lyrics, but not the musical tone.
Fair enough.
So if you're into like metal deathcore, then this definitely check out Amure, Emmure, and this song "Looking for a Gift Horse in the Mouth" off their 2006 album, The Complete Guide to Needlework.
Right. So you said that was the name of the album, and I was like, "There's only two possibilities, right, for for what that group is, if with that title."
What does needlework mean? Is it crocheting or knitting or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm showing my lack of knowledge of that community. I have no idea which one does needlework.
Crochets hooks, and knitting uses needles, but so does like cross stitch.
All right, there you go.
Sewing.
I mean, so do tattoos.
That's true, and other things, but other kinds of needles. There's lots of needles in the world.
We also found the 2006 book "Don't Look a Gift Horse in the Mouth" and Other Weird Sayings by Cynthia Klingel with illustrations by Myrnie Gallagher Cole. The quick description on Goodreads says, quote, "Thanks to whimsical illustrations and everyday examples, kids can finally discover the true meanings behind such weird idioms as 'don't look a gift horse in the mouth,'" end quote. Now, I didn't actually read the book, so I don't know what they said the origins were, but I feel pretty comfortable with what we have found.
Yeah, pretty good.
But of course, I'd be happy to take a look at it. So I might check out my local library and see if they have a copy of it. One more before we move to Twitter, and this is an artwork, and I'll direct you to the Saatchi Art website, where artist Angela Gabrielle has a painting called "Life is a Gift Horse," and it is available now. It's an acrylic on canvas, about 35 by 35, and it shows a point of view scene where you can see the head of a horse as you are traveling towards a mountain range in the distance. The artist says, quote, "Life is a given horse. I understand when I got on a mountain horse in the magical mountain Rila in my country," end quote. So you can kind of feel a little bit about what the artist was thinking, putting into the work. And you can go to the Saatchi Art website. That's SAATCHIART.com. And we'll put a link to the show notes and on our Patreon, so you can go directly to that one. If you're interested, it's for sale. So you can go in and jump on there, and you can get prints too.
I think there's something pretty unique about being on a horse, especially if you have a little bit of distance from other people. It can be a pretty cool experience. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, to the Twitter.
Yay.
So this first one is from Nicole Hammond, and she is quoting James Marler, who said, "You actually should look a gift horse in the mouth. You know how much care a horse requires?"
Nice.
Here's one about an American football game. American football is a game that I will note is not played with a ball, but rather something resembling an elongated egg. And the only person that is allowed to use their feet on the field is only brought in for special situations. Maybe football, it just isn't, maybe that's not the right term for it, but it is what it is. Okay, so this is from Denver Neoliberal. Quote, "It's just a miracle that the Broncos are 6-6. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth." Pun was not intended when I started writing, but halfway through I noticed the pun and it became 100% intended. End quote. All right, and one more. This is from, this is maybe my favorite here, and this is from Andrew G. Davis. And he says, quote, I am looking this gift horse in the mouth. Our new giant sectional couch, which was still supposed to be another 2 months out, is now getting delivered this week during peak Christmas decoration clutter. We have no idea what we're going to do with 2 couches it's replacing. End quote.
Okay.
That's okay. I totally get that. Yeah. I am going to look this gift horse right in that mouth.
That's hilarious.
Well, I do want to address, as we kind of spoke about earlier, the reality that this phrase, on occasion, can be employed in a negative way. It can be used to attempt to make a person feel bad when a gift is not authentically given. Many of us have known someone who uses money or gifts to maintain a toxic relationship. And in those cases, it is perfectly fine to look that gift horse right in the mouth. But usually, this phrase is meant to show gratitude when someone is gifting you something. It may be a physical item, such as a present, or it may be a verbal gift, like a compliment. And genuine, authentic gifts should be received with grace. If you aren't sure how to react and the gift isn't inappropriate, a simple thank you will usually do the trick. And this has been Adulting Tips with Dan.
Nice.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today. If you have any thoughts on the show or pop culture references we should have included, reach out to us on social media where we are at Bunny Trails Pod, or comment on our website, bunnytrailspod.com. Of course, the best way to make sure we see your comment is to post it on the Patreon page. And if you want, please go leave a review for the show. You can do that on your podcasting app of choice, or on iTunes, or on Podchaser, or wherever. But leaving a review helps others see the show, and we don't have a whole lot of them. Most of them are good, except that one guy. But anyway, go in and leave a review for the show. That would be really helpful.
Hey, we appreciate his input as well.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if
his input was very clear. The camaraderie between Shauna and Dan is forced and fake. And I'm like, we have known each other for like 25, maybe 30 years.
That's so weird.
So, I mean, like our parents went to high school together. And so
Yeah.
we've known each other for a very long time. This camaraderie is not getting any better. Wherever it is now, it's not going to get better.
I'm just that awkward that I overpower your like natural whatever. I was like, I need, there's that shirt that says, sorry, I'm awkward. Sorry. Like that's me.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes.
Yeah. All right, poll time. In a recent poll, we asked patrons, what is your favorite ice cream, frozen yogurt, gelato flavor? The options were the basic with flavors like vanilla and chocolate, the fruity with flavors like strawberry, cherry, mango, and raisin, the combo with flavors like Neapolitan, Rocky Road, butter pecan, chocolate chip, mint chip, moose tracks, or the cookie lover with flavors like cookies and cream, cookie dough, Oreo, or the weird but strangely yummy with flavors like birthday cake, coffee, pistachio, green tea. All right, it turns out ice cream tastes are super varied. The basics, the fruity, and the weird but strangely yummy all got 33% each.
Oh, well, there you go.
There seemed to be a majority consensus regarding homemade ice cream. Strawberry is the best.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, nice.
I concur. Definitely the best. Yeah.
All
it's
right.
good. Especially like if you're making it from home, you're using fresh strawberries, right? It's delicious.
Sure. I don't think I've ever had fresh, like homemade strawberry ice cream, although I'd be totally cool with that. I've had homemade vanilla ice cream a lot, and it's yummy. And in fact, that is probably what solidified my love for vanilla ice cream in general. But yeah, I'd totally be willing to try homemade strawberry ice cream.
Good, because it's got like a little bit of that tart. It's good stuff.
Nice.
If you would like to join our polls, head over to patreon.com/bunnytrailspod, where patrons at all levels can participate in our weekly silly polls that mean absolutely nothing and aren't even scientifically valid, but they are fun to talk about. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week. And until then, remember,
Words belong to their users.